It's time for some tiered list Necron videos, and in this one we're looking at Best Necron HQ Units 2022. It's coming right up.
Necrons!
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, we are going to do a series of videos looking at our units, finding out which ones are our best. I'm going to narrow each segment down: troops, HQ, elites. We're going to narrow them down to the top 3 units. And we're starting with HQ, which has the most amount of entries, 17 entries in total. Now, of course, HQ units integrate with the rest of the army. They support the rest of the army. So in many cases, it does depend on your army list and the units that you have in them. However, I need to narrow this list down to a top 3 choice. And that's what we're going to do. So first of all, I'm just going to cross out all of the named characters. Well, the ones which are locked into a dynasty choice. And sadly, that is the Sotek dynasty. Not the greatest dynasty at the moment in the Codex. Still playable. I've played it, and I know a few of you do. And if you do, and you love the named characters for them, then play them by all means. But I've got to narrow this list down, and well, I'm going to narrow it down this way because Sotek isn't the greatest, and yeah, they've got to go. Next, I'm going to swiftly write off the Locust Lord, one of my favourite models to play in the old days, and he is playable, but he's definitely not the best HQ in the book, so he's going to be crossed out, along with the Lord. The Lord, again, playable, quite good in smaller point games, but we've got much better choices. And I think the Royal Warden is also going to be crossed out here as well. Some nice rules, being able to fall back and shoot, it's great. It's a nice thing to have, but I think there are better choices. I'm also going to wipe out the Skorpek Lord. You would have thought this guy would be a lot better than he is, especially with your new Skorpek Destroyer miniatures. However, yeah, he's not actually that great. He is able to buff a Destroyer cult unit, but I don't think they necessarily need his buffs. I think potentially buffs coming from other units for them would be better. I'm also going to wipe out the Psychomancer. The other 3 Mancers that we have are just so much better. And for this reason, I'm going to reluctantly remove Oricon from the list, because he, of course, is a Cryptek as well. He can be empowered, increasing his stats, becoming a mini Catan. I love using him in my Catan lists when I have a more of a themed list, but I think the other Mancers that we have do a lot more for the army these days, especially for the points cost. And of course, you do have to factor in how many points you're spending on these HQs. A lot of these named characters are pretty expensive. And for the same reasons, I'm also going to remove Illuminor Xeras from the list. He is a Cryptek, of course, and a Technomancer. Now, Illuminor does have some great things about him, being able to do double rites of reanimation. However, I've found when using him, I'm just better off spending the same amount of points it cost for him, having 2 separate Technomancers. And being a dynastic agent, of course, Illuminor doesn't benefit from the dynasty code. So if you had, for example, Relentless Expansionist, the 6-inch pre-game move, he can't take it. So a little bit of a drawback. And then we have Trazyn the Infinite, who also is a dynastic agent. He's an overlord. And I think generally speaking, he doesn't really offer enough for you just to not take a standard overlord, allowing you to kit him up how you wish, maybe take a resurrection orb, and then taking a Voltic Staff or a Warsight, allowing you to unlock some of the relics which are available. So Trazyn is out. So that leaves us with 6 HQ choices left, and to be fair, these are all good choices. I'll be happy with you playing any of these. However, I really want to narrow the choice down to 3. It's going to be really tough to do it, but I am going to do it. Okay, so some tough choices, and to be honest with you, I thought the next unit would be higher in the list. However, really looking at what we've got, I can't really place him much higher. That's the Plasmancer. I'm loving the Plasmancer. One of my lists, I have 2 of them, and they perform really well. That mortal wound output, very nice indeed. Plasmancer, I'm very happy using it, but it's just not quite made it up the list as much as I thought it would. So next on the list to be striked out is the Overlord, which again I'm quite surprised, but like I said, the top spot is very, very tough. The Overlord is a great model, and of course we have quite a few units which have the Overlord ability. In particular, of course, one of the key ones, My Will Be Done. Very, very useful, especially now we have so many new core units like Scorpec Destroyers and Wraiths. So the Overlord is gone, and the main reason for that is we have so many choices, but I do feel that having an Overlord model in amongst your HQs is always very useful. Sometimes I just run with Cryptex and maybe no Overlord, but the Overlord, especially now with all the core units, really useful if you're building a list that way. If you're not, you may not need an Overlord. But for now, the Overlord is out of the list. However, we do still have a named character left, and he is also an Overlord. And that, of course, is Anrakur the Traveller. What a great Overlord model this is. Yes, a bit more expensive in points to the standard Overlord, and you can't change his war gear like you can the standard Overlord. However, he gives +1 attack to core units, and as I said, we've got lots more core units now, so fantastic for Wraiths, for flayed ones, and of course our Scorpec Destroyers on the charge. Awesome. Not only that, but he can take control of your enemy's vehicles when in range and when you remember the rule. Anrakur the Traveller, a great unit and worthy of his position. And that leaves us with 3 HQ choices, 3 very good HQ choices. Some of you may be surprised to see the Catacomb Command Barge in there, but I have my reasons. We'll talk about those when we come to him. But ultimately, I think what you need in your list is one form of an Overlord and then some Cryptex scattered around, whether they be the Technomancer or Chronomancer or a Plasmancer, or if indeed you feel it's better, the Psychomancer. I do think that a combination of units is the way to go, depending on your army list and the support required. However, we're into the top 3 and we need to put these into order. So here we go. Okay, so tough choices to be made, but I have made them, and in 3rd place we've got the Technomancer. This guy is fantastic. He has quite a few options. He only moves 5 inches when you've got the Canoptic control node, but that's fine because you're probably going to be just babysitting your Doomstalkers with the node, giving them +1 to hit. But if you take it with the Canoptic Cloak, you've got a 10-inch movement and you gain the fly keyword. Plus you can repair D3 lost wounds for a friendly model within 3 inches. Very nice. However, it's the rites of reanimation which really makes this guy where he is. Being able to bring back a model, no RP needed, and particularly good now because of course we've got more core units. So you've got your Wraiths, your Scorpec Destroyers, your normal Destroyers, core keyword, rites of reanimation. Just bring back a model in your command phase. Fantastic. So in 2nd place we have put the Chronomancer. What an awesome unit the Chronomancer is. He moves 8 inches, fantastic. He has a 4+ invulnerable save, the only Mancer out of the 4 that has an invulnerable save. He gives units a 5+ invulnerable save, awesome, and not only that, but you can re-roll the charge rolls when you give that unit the 5+ save. So it's double whammy, and don't forget to re-roll the charge rolls because it's not just all about that 5+ save. He also has more attacks as well as having options for the different staffs. All in all, the Chronomancer is an awesome Cryptech, definitely worthy of his 2nd place. So that just leaves the Catacomb Command Barge, and he has taken top spot in my list. But like I said, a lot of these units are very, very good, so this was a hard list. Now the reason I've given this guy first place is, well, quite a few of them. One, it's the movement, so of course he can move 12 inches, fantastic. He's a vehicle with quantum shielding, making him pretty survivable. He can obviously gain his living metal wounds back as well. He's an overlord, which of course again means he can upgrade his weapons, a Warsai or the Staff of Light, unlocking some relics, the Void Reaper or maybe the Voltic Staff. Really useful relics. And what I like about some of these relics, like the Voltic Staff, means you can take your Staff of Light and the Voltic Staff as your relic, and that allows you to get some decent shooting and still be pretty good in close combat. And of course you get the underslung gun as well. Now he's an overlord, so he gets that My Will Be Done, which is what we want, 9 inches. And of course you do have the option to extend that as well if you take the correct warlord trait. Plus, of course, you have Hand of the Pharaon for 2 CPs, allowing him to do My Will Be Done twice. This guy can keep up with your forward units, your Wraiths, your Scorpec Destroyers very, very easily. He can be a threat by himself, and he can support and buff those units. This guy with 2 units of Wraiths pushing forward, giving both units of Wraiths My Will Be Done, fantastic. And on top of all that, he can take the Resurrection Orb, and potentially, if you don't take a relic elsewhere, you can take Orb of the Eternity, even better. Lots of options for this guy, and he ticks a lot of boxes, and that's why I put him at the top of the list. He is a little bit more expensive points wise, so potentially if you didn't have him, you had a normal overlord and maybe a cryptech, you'd be spending less points. So it's all about finding the points for the units that you want to take. That's what I think, but what do you think? Let me know in the comments box below. In the meantime, here is a video which I think you'll like watching next, and here is a playlist which will feature the rest of these videos once they are live.